conversation. And now to give a reflection about today's service and to introduce our speakers, Logan Fisher.
Hello, everyone. I'm so glad everybody's here, and thank you all for being so adaptable on the fly. And I hope everybody stays safe during this tropical storm. My name is Logan Fisher, and my pronouns are he and him. And for those of you who don't know me, I've been going to this church since I was 7 years old, and I'm 21 now. I'm involved in the community working with various organizations. I'm student director for Feel the Burn San Fernando Valley, which is a Democratic Party club that aims to move the party in a more progressive direction. And I'm an officer for my college's YDSA chapter. I also briefly served on the Woodland Hills Warner Center Neighborhood Council, and I've been interning for AFT 1521 for a little over a year now, which is a labor union that serves our local community college faculty. I've also been interning for our state assembly member, Jesse Gabriel, this summer. And before I began my involvement in these organizations, I had strong opinions about politics and the state of the world, but I didn't have the courage to do anything about them. I thought, what could I possibly accomplish alone? And this is a trap that a lot of young people fall into when looking at how daunting the challenges our generation faces. But it's a lie to think that you're in this fight alone. The problems in our society and planet faces are ones that we all experience together. And those who engage in the fight are grateful for your involvement and help. If you're passionate about an injustice in your community, join a group that helps combat it or create one. If you're worried about increasing housing prices, you can join Justice for Renters or Housing is a Human Right. Worried about our climate crisis, you can join our environmental justice ministry right here at Emerson or Youth Climate Strike. Even if you can only contribute a little, adding your voice to the voices of others makes a difference. No single person is capable of solving all of the world's problems, but you can make a difference by helping others. To me, this is best exemplified by the resurgent labor movement. Organized labor was in major decline following the 1980s, and a lot of people viewed it as on the way out. But following the pandemic, workers realized just how important their rights are. 51% of households experienced job loss, and the number of people experiencing chronic homelessness went up 15% during the pandemic. Union support today is at 71% among Americans. That's the highest it's been since 1965. And we've had a recent increase of 51% in union elections filed since the pandemic. Young activists at Amazon and Starbucks are organizing, demanding fair pay and safe working conditions. Our actors and writers in SAG-AFTRA and the WGA are on strike right now. And last year, we had student workers in the UC system organize a union and strike successfully last year for wages and benefits that would keep them out of housing insecurity. Every generation prior has faced problems and crises, and youth have hit the streets demanding justice, going back to the abolitionist movement, the Vietnam War, and the civil rights eras, with varying degrees of success. And the problems we face today are in large part caused by the failures of previous generations to fully address the root causes of our problems. Our climate is burning, and we face a potential global ecological and societal collapse by the end of the century if we don't hit net zero carbon emissions. Our housing crisis is out of control, and the cost of living has increased so much that 59% of households are one paycheck away from homelessness, and 1/3 of our generation believes that they'll never be able to obtain home ownership. We also face more than one mass shooting a day in the United States, to the point now that mass shootings have become so normalized, we're largely numb to it, and it's a rare event when they break the front cover of a newspaper. Our generation is in a unique position compared to previous generations because we are at a pivotal point in human history. If we fail to truly address the crises we face, we won't be able to pass the buck on to the next generation. We will have doomed them. The feeling of hopelessness and is rife among our generation. A recent study found that 43% of high school students reported feeling persistent feelings of hopelessness and despair. And I understand where that feeling comes from. I do. It's hard to not feel that way when looking at what we're facing, but we owe it to the next generation to not shrink from this fight and give it our all. Working on these issues with various activists and organizations is in many ways uplifting to see the efforts of so many amazing people who are not willing to give in. The best way to combat despair is through action. Today, we are joined by several guests who are activists from my generation who have uplifted and inspired me. Shekinah Deocares is a daughter of Filipino immigrants and was born and raised in the San Fernando Valley. She's a Gen Z labor and immigrant justice organizer and climate activist. Alex Gruenenfelder is an activist and former Echo Park Neighborhood Councilman. Alex graduated from UC San Diego at 19 and became the youngest mayoral candidate in Los Angeles history, and was a key leader on Karen Bass's successful campaign for mayor. Bilal is the lead organizer for Youth Climate Strike Los Angeles and co-founder of Youth Interest PAC, and he sits on the LA County Youth Climate Commission for the 2nd District. I hope this service gives you all a window into what our generation is doing and gives you a little hope and brings some of you out into the field with us. Thank you all for coming. Hello, everyone. We're gonna honor Robin Wilkes now. Robin Wilkes was a longtime member of our congregation, a social worker, and a labor activist. I only had the privilege of knowing Robin this past year when he rejoined the church. I met him last October when Reverend Matthew invited the both of us to the Giant of Justice Awards, which celebrated activists and community leaders. Reverend Matthew drove me and him to the event downtown. During the ride, Robin shared with me stories from his time as a labor activist and social worker, and I shared with him what I do and the organizations I'm involved with. Earlier this year, Robin helped organize a service about book bans where my father spoke and performed. After the service, Robin asked me if I had any friends who were young activists who would be willing to speak at Emerson, as a big theme of the book banning service was Gen Z. I agreed and we began organizing the service. A few weeks before he passed, Robin gave me a call where he expressed how grateful he was that the service is happening and how much faith he has in our generation. Robin ended the call by telling me that he believes Gen Z will be the generation that saves our planet and creates a more compassionate and caring society. 2 weeks after he called me, Robin was diagnosed with cancer. He passed away on May 24th, 2023. We wouldn't be here today if it weren't for Robin, and I hope that Robin is out there somewhere enjoying this service, and that we end up living up to his words and faith in our generation. I now would like everyone to have a brief moment of silence to honor Robin and the work he's done. Thank you all.
Now we will hear from our 3 guest speakers.
So I believe Alex is going first, and oh, your camera's on. Great.
Hello, all. Thank you so much to Logan for inviting me to be here today, and for the wonderful introduction a little bit ago. My name is Alex Gruenenfelder. I'm a former member of the Echo Park Neighborhood Council, former Los Angeles mayoral candidate, and former member of now Mayor Karen Bass's team. And I believe that today's service provides an especially crucial point to younger generations, and that's the way that we can become involved in activism, in politics, and in our communities. I think that we have a political system that is designed to keep young people out of politics, but it's also a system that provides us with the exact tools that allow us to be engaged, that allow us to be involved. It's the same tools that have uplifted multinational corporations, that have uplifted multimillionaire lobbyists, and the same tools that have allowed the plundering of our communities and our environment. Those very same tools give us the power to uplift our own communities and to uplift ourselves. You know, I think when we look at community organizing, when we look at politics, there's often this idea that we need to take a fundamentally different approach, that we need some sort of revolutionary change in the system that's going to dismantle everything that's been done before, and that we somehow need to devise new theories, new approaches. But really, all of the tools we need to take apart the system are already in our hands. One of our other speakers today is Sim, a wonderful community organizer who was one of the founders of a youth-oriented PAC. The same political action committees that have given the wealthy control over our society can be used by us to make change in our communities. My girlfriend Isha, who is in the audience for the Zoom today, was a student lobbyist at UC San Diego, lobbying on behalf of Tritons. And the same skills that are used by corporations and by big parties to lobby people against our interests, those are the same skills that we can pick up for organizations that not only pay lobbyists, but also groups like the Sierra Club, which train civilian lobbyists. The same people who get paid tons of money to be political strategists cannot overcome the power that we have when we stand up and volunteer for campaigns, not just locally, but nationally as well. Focusing locally in our communities is a great way to make change, but any of us can have power in any level of government if we band together. If we come together as a generation, as Gen Z, as the most progressive, as the most liberal generation in the history of this country, we can change everything. When you look demographically and statistically at generations politically, we can see why conservatives are so worried about our generation. We are socially progressive, we are fiscally compassionate, and we are ready to help those around us. Our generation is not in it for ourselves, despite the mentality being pushed over and over on social media that independence must mean that we somehow are turning against each other. Instead, we are advocating for our generation, we are advocating for the environment, we are advocating for a future with more housing and fair access to it. We are advocating for those who are living on our streets, and we are advocating for those who are being deprived of their rights, be it people who are losing abortion access in parts of the country, or people who are losing the right to be themselves under anti-LGBTQ plus laws. Our generation has the ability to change things, and that change is possible because the systems that we have here in the United States, the systems of democracy that we have in our republic, give any of us the power, no matter what you come from, to stand up and fight back. So I'm so grateful to have the ability to be here today and speak on this important topic. And I'm going to be followed by two amazing leaders here in Los Angeles fighting for progressive justice. Thank you.
Yeah, claps for Alan. Good morning. My name is Shekinah, pronouns she, hers. I will talk about myself a little bit. So like Logan said earlier, I am the daughter of two really amazing Filipino immigrants who came here in the 80s, 90s. And I grew up in San Fernando Valley, so I know y'all are based in Echo Park. I grew up around Van Nuys in North Hollywood area. And now I am a immigrants' rights and labor justice organizer with Filipino Workers Center based in East Los Angeles. But I also do a lot of climate activism work with Sim, who is also my fiance. We just got engaged and had our engagement party yesterday. Which was really fun and is also why I might not speak so eloquently this morning because we sang karaoke all night. But I wanted to share a little bit about myself because when coming today, Logan asked us to talk about why we're even involved in this work and why it's so important to us. Recently, we were in a meeting and somebody kept referring to us as volunteers because the climate activism work we do, we don't get paid for. A lot of it we don't get paid for. So we do this outside of our 40 hours of work and really get very little rest, not enough. And so they kept referring to us as volunteers. And I was like, I didn't volunteer for this. Like, I wouldn't volunteer time that I can be like at home snuggling with my cats and reading books to like drive hours to go yell at a politician and tell them that they're actually hurting our communities, or to do mutual aid efforts, or like prepare a strike or a summit. As much as I'm thankful I get to do this work, like I'm not doing it as a volunteer. It feels more like I've been drafted because this is our survival. I mentioned my parents earlier. When they came from the Philippines, even though my father was highly educated and was a university professor, and my mom was a dental assistant, their degrees did not matter at all when they came here. No one cared. So my dad started as a warehouse worker, worked for the same company for 13 years. And then during the recession, he was laid off. He was given the choice to either stick with his job, but get half the pay, and have to move all throughout the United States and work remotely, or to get laid off. So he left, and at the same time, my mom became disabled at her work. She left and then was in a very long court case against the place she worked at, for improper safety protections, which caused her disability. After that, my family became bankrupt. We lost our house. We lived with my uncle. He got sick, and then we got evicted, and then we were housing insecure for 4 years. And the thing about that is that story is not unique at all. So many folks that I grew up with, and the immigrant community I grew up in, the vibrant immigrant community that's in San Fernando Valley, this is so common, and that's not how life should be. The reason we're fighting is because we deserve a world where we can thrive. We deserve a world where Sim and I can just celebrate our engagement and think about our future. But right now, every time we think about the future, it's always, oh, it would be nice if we could adopt a kid in 10 years. It would be nice if we could own a home in 15 years. But we don't even know if we will live in 10 years or 15 years because of the climate crisis. And even if we did, we don't know if we'd be able to afford any of that, because right now we live in a system where corporations and profit is worth so much more than people. And so the work we do, Alex talked a lot about getting involved politically, and really taking up spaces of power. And we love that. But we are also very involved in making sure our community knows that we already have power. We're able to take care of each other, just like we have long before these systems existed, and that we'll continue to do that radically and show love to each other radically, and take care of each other, because it's our survival. And I hope you all join us in the different ways that, in the different skills that you have and the different issues that you're passionate about. There are so many ways to get involved. Sim and I really like yelling at politicians that pass harmful legislation, but that might not be what everyone else likes to do, right? Whether it's writing letters to your legislator, or just taking care of your neighbor, saying hello, giving water to someone on a hot day, whatever it is. At the end of the day, we're trying to develop a world where at the core it's care, and not this exploitative economy that we currently live in, where the end goal is just profit for the few. Yeah, and I'm 26, so I'm an older Gen Z, but I hope that in the future I get to live in a world where we can thrive, and have time and space for joy, and not just trying to survive the world that we're in right now. I'll pass it to Sim now to share.
Hi, everyone. Good morning. My name is Sim Bilal. My mom is Korean and my dad is Black and indigenous to the Chickasaw tribe in Oklahoma. And I think that is a huge reason why I'm very passionate about the work I do. I'm very passionate about my community and showing up for, the people I love and I care about. I learned a lot from my grandmother, who, she organized in the 60s with Black Panthers and the American Indian movement. And I think that was like my first, political awakening was in elementary school. And so I had a very unique lens to view the climate crisis, to view, a lot of social inequalities, and just understanding, where we're coming from and also where we're going. And that's really just shaped a lot of the work that I do, and also why I'm so passionate about everything. So for me, I feel like I don't know. I'm kind of upset right now because the hurricane is going on, and I feel like this is, you know, I've been a climate activist since I was probably like 12 years old. I had climate anxiety since I was 6 years old. And so like one of my most vivid memories from like being six was I dreamed that my bedroom was flooding because of a hurricane. I saw the devastation of Hurricane Katrina, and now it's actually like experience, you know, one of the first hurricanes to make landfall in Southern California. That's really, really terrifying for me. You know, one of my I guess one of the things that actually pivoted to inspire me to do this work and to motivate me has come to, you know, fruition. It's something that I don't, you know, I'm not happy about. I'm so frustrated and sad that we've gotten to this point, and you know that the adults in power have not exercised their full ability to protect us, our future, and the future of, you know, everyone else that will live on this planet. And I don't take that lightly. That is, you know, it's disgraceful. It's a slap in the face. And we continue to move in this direction where we know it's going to escalate the effects of the climate crisis. That this is just the beginning. This is the beginning of what is to come. And we're talking, you know, mass devastation, mass displacement of people. And so what systems are we creating, you know, to take care of people when the world shifts, and, you know, this inevitable unbalance, this disbalance that is going to continue. And that's a lot what I'm fighting for right now is, you know, we're making sure that people who are fleeing from, you know, climate disasters, who are going to become climate refugees, have places to come, that have, you know, community, and have ways to escape. I think, you know, we sort of get stuck into this, I don't know, sort of nihilism stage where we think, you know, maybe we can fix this. Like Greta was saying, you know, when you guys are old enough, you can fix the climate crisis. And she's right, you know, that's not possible. By the time we're old enough to actually take charge and be like leaders in the way that a lot of adults want us to, it'll be too late for us. It'll be too late for our generation. It'll be like too late for our children. And that's scary for me. And so I hope, you know, all of you guys can empathize with, you know, the anxiety that my generation is feeling. This is different. This has been like nothing before that any generation has dealt with. To actually deal with complete environmental and ecological collapse is different. That is terrifying. This has never happened before. And, you know, it can't be on our generation alone to fix this. You know, I look to a lot of you guys, I see, you know, you guys are like boomers. You look like my grandma, my grandpa, and stuff like that. And I have a lot of love for you guys. And I'm inspired by the work that, you know, your generation has done to move us in this direction for civil rights, so that, you know, me and Shekinah can get married and fall in love. Like that's amazing. You know, interracial couples weren't a thing for a long time. But I think recognizing like the fight is continuing. You guys are still alive, you're still breathing. And it's so important for, you know, us as boomers and zoomers to, you know, really join forces. Like there is still a lot of light and passion within your generation. I see it, you know, when I talk to my boomers, and, you know, you guys are just excited about changing the world as you have ever been. And I think this is a unique experience, a unique opportunity. You know, like my generation is getting older. We're becoming more aware about these systems of oppression, and, you know, this is do or die. Like you guys are still alive, you're still kicking, so let's get moving, you know. But anyway, yeah, so I think I want to invite you guys to the climate strike that we're having on September 15th at City Hall. I have a lot to say, but I only have 5 minutes, so I don't want to like take up too much time. But anyway, yeah, I would love to. I was hoping we could do this in person. You know, we could like meet each other and talk and converse more, but unfortunately, we're talking through Zoom. So yeah, I mean, all I can say is that, you know, I have a lot of love for you guys, and I'm really inspired by the work that you have done in your youth. And I want you out on the streets with me again, you know, like it's do or die. We got to go. So yeah, so hopefully you guys join me in September. And, you know, let's keep this going. Let's create relationships, and let's, you know, let's do a lot of work together, because you guys have, you know, you guys have done it before. You can do it again.
Thank you so much for all of your sharing, for Alex and Shekinah and Sim, for your words and for all of the work you do. I'm just going to give a shout out to the millennials and the Gen Xers as well. It's kind of, you know, as a millennial, it's um, uh, who considers myself very much an activist. That's part of the reason why I ended up becoming a minister. But I'm so glad to see the continued work in support of those of the younger generation in working to transform our society. And so thank you for sharing. This month, our theme is activism, which is why having them this month was great.